movements in it, you know, easy.
People don't know certain things about Kareem in the pan world. They see Kareem as this quiet player. I think he's one of the best arrangers that we have.
When I arranging, I would use the keyboard to pull out the chords, right, and reham and whatever, and I'd use the pan, and then I would use, you know, there's an internal voice that you would sing stuff in your head, and creating that line on the instrument itself is a thing. So I would like to, when I'm arranging, go on the pan itself to do the line. You had to think about the geography of the pan and the player, if they could make those movements. So you may have to change the line, or change the harmony movement, or change the part entirely, because it might work for you home and it doesn't go work for the players and in the pan yard. So you just end up changing the whole part entirely. Some of the players now doing the same thing, reading and writing. So the transfer of music and the transition of music is a lot easier now. So you could write and maybe the arranger don't have to be there, or you as you know, you could just pass it on. You know, this idea about reading is no longer, you know, just for certain people. Like most of the panics now, and especially the younger ones, they are exploring all avenues now.
In 2000, when we started working with Skiffle Bunch, now he was down there working with Ben. I didn't know. I was with the National Steel, and somebody invited us to come and play with Skiffle Bunch for the festival in 2000. When I went down, there was Kareem and Ben working with the band. Even though we're in Lady and Steel, we are separate when we're not in Lady and Steel to do what we want. So I went to assist Skiffle Bunch with the whole festival, and Ben was the conductor, and Kareem was there as his assistant. They were actually writing all the music.
Entering the National Steel Symphony Orchestra in 2007, you know, Mr. Murray was able to, you know, transmit that understanding and develop that musicianship, because as a national player, it's a sense of development happens. Over the 10-year period, I could see myself transform into a better musician, right, as a member of the NSSO. We here in the NSSO, we were able to, the minister might say, or the prime minister say, I'll let you do a concert Friday or a concert Wednesday, right? And he wants an hour of music or 2 hours of music. Now, having the ability to read, you'll be able to do, bam, that one time. We could just pull out 2 classics, pull out 2 jazz, 2 calypsos, full-on arrangements, and just play it, right? Get it ready, brush it off, and get it ready for a concert and play. So that is the benefits of reading. You gotta have respect for Bugsy and all them. They made it through, and you know, they ain't really doing no sort of reading and whatever. They ain't doing none, but you gotta respect that. I'm not saying one is better than the other. It just makes you a better soldier in the music, if that's a thing. So that when you reach on a certain level, you'll be able to handle that situation. the first panorama arranger that won panorama in 1963, you can't get that because it was never written. Or if somebody might be now going to try and explore to write it and pay it down and archive it. I can now go online and buy Our Bum and His Boss arrangement by Len Bookshey Sharp, which we can do that.
The whole attention to preservation is so important for if you really want to harness the skills and learn from the masters. And every arranger has their own style, you know. Some producing counter melodies with the melody, and some doing various changes on the whole harmonic structure and chords and change keys and modulation. And I just found it so interesting to pay attention to what they were doing. So from the angle of preserving it and from the angle of sustainability, where we could actually learn and not have all that information lost, you know, when the arranger passes on. I guess Bradley is a good example of that. You know, there's so many great arrangements from Bradley, but you know, are they scored? You know, where are they? Can't find it.
To explore the ideas and devices that these guys are doing now in the 21st century and things, just like deal with them. I always find so, but there was always a lack of documentation. And if you had to do it, you had to do it by ear, by listening and breaking it down and whatever, you know, which. So there's the importance of writing and literacy, and we need to have it done more now and in the future.
Quietly, people just don't know how many scores Kareem has done and preserved in different bands, and a lot of the scores and lead sheets and so on. You know, you see his name on it.
I used to call him the king of finale. He could run through finale scoring program like that. If I had a problem with it, Kareem is the first person I called. He actually introduced me to those things. He actually the person who introduced me to the computer aspect of the music, finale, and all these notations program.
The piano gives you a nice little layout of where each instrument would be. You know, tenors up here, second, the guitars, and then you have your bass down here. You know. Pam, 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 pam.
We were working with Mark Loquan on some of his pan in education projects, and then he was transcribing most of the music. He transcribing for Skiffle Bunch, he transcribing for Courts, he was transcribing for Pan Family. We were doing band scores for Calypsonians. That's from trial and error, and then we just started doing all these things. We were looking at documenting steel band panorama music, and we started talking to Mr. Loquan about these things that we had a passion. We both had the passion for restoration, because when you look at it, our music is lost after panorama. That 10 minutes, we sit down and we talk about that. He talked about it at length with Ben Jackson, Carrie, Codrington, those conversations, and we said we're going to try and make it happen. You know, some of the projects showed him that he could actually survive if it's consistent. One person who was interested was Mr. Edwin Bouchette. He brought us down to Silver Stars, and he started investing in the project of restoring his music, having it scored and documented.
The Music Literacy Trust was born. There was an element of education, there was an element of preservation, because it was taking pieces like Jit Samro's music, Ray Holman's music, Bobby Muhammad's music, Edwin Pouchet's music, Ken Fillmore's music, and scoring it and preserving it. And this is where Kareem comes in, because while we may have started with pan in education, you know, he himself had ambitions to do his own music degree. So he had to go through an audition process for his scholarship for the Music Literacy Trust to get a certain amount of money to pay his way through.
I did an interview, and I think it was Liam Teague and Miss B, Pat Bishop. She was on the panel.
You know, people like Sat Sharma, Dr. Ann Osborne, Lindy and Borden Rich, and so on. The ambition wasn't just to have a degree, but the ambition was to somehow give back down the road. Kareem was one of those people who, not only Kareem, I would say other music literacy trust scholars got back involved, in some continuity. But there was also these scholars that had passed through giving back and teaching some of the instruments, right? So, and Kareem was one of those in the City Angels program as well. I think later on, we also, as part of the scoring of various icons, we also said we will score Highlanders music and arrangements by Bertie Marshall. So each of the times we would take like 6 pieces, 6 jit pieces, 6 ray pieces, and so on. And Kareem was the guy who scored all the music, and this was a young boy, started in Highlanders when he was about 9 or 10 or something like that. And it is so great to watch the progression of him through university and him scoring, the 6 pieces from Highlanders and preserving the works by Bertie Marshall for reuse in the education system.
I have a good friend who once said to me, any band who don't want a Kareem Brown don't know what they're missing out on, because Kareem have a lot to offer you.
As you go over the past couple decades, I think there has been a major amount of work that Kareem would have contributed to, starting with the first time I met him, cleaning up the scores for Boogsy's arrangement for Skiffle Bunch. All the lead sheets that I have over the last 20 years, he's been a major contributor for that. The arrangements that some of the bands that I see playing in Australia, Japan, New Zealand, or various countries in Europe, the US, Canada, I think a lot of those scores have also been produced by Kareem.